Welcome to Politics Done Right. I am your host, Experto Willies. This is the progressive program that will take the mystery out of politics. This is the program that will encourage you to make sure government becomes we the people. Whether you are liberal, conservative, or otherwise, you get to air your point of view. Remember, you can also send me a tweet to EGBERTOWILLIES. That is, at Egberto Willies. Let us engage. It is politics done right.
1, 2, 3.
Well, folks, welcome to one more edition of Politics Done Right. I'm Egberto Willies, your host. Thank you so kindly for being a part of the show. We are going to have a great show for you today. Now, all of you who know me know that I'm not in the business of talking about this Trump report. I'm not in the business about talking about all these issues related to Russia, related to Russiagate, related to all these particular issues. And let me tell you why. Because we have more important issues to discuss. But today is the big day. This is what I've been telling people all along. It is okay to leave it alone until we have real stuff to talk about, right? And the truth of the matter is, don't we have real stuff to talk about now? My contention is that now is the time for us to discuss some of this, but I take a somewhat different attitude on how I am going to discuss this, and I'm going to tell you why. I think it's rather important what I'm going to say here. You know, everybody is really stationed on this. Oh, the Mueller report is out now, and it is serious, and we have this morning that William Barr comes out, and he presents himself as not the defense attorney or not the lawyer for the people, but he presents himself as the lawyer for Donald Trump. And in the process, he made a mockery out of the report. What he did is a standard thing that some people do, right? And what they do is the following. It is like the sky is blue. Everybody know that you're going to wake up in the morning and the sky is blue. But what you go out and tell people is be prepared, because what you are actually going to see when you look up in the sky in the morning is you're not going to see a blue sky. You are going to see a purple sky. And then when you start, there's a psychological thing in some people's minds that then when they go out there, what they see is in fact a purple sky. And that is the process that they're doing right now. That is what Donald Trump and his comrades are doing right now. And we have to see through that and understand what is going on. But most importantly, while we cannot buy into all of that, we cannot also buy into what a whole lot of our people want us to do, and that is to beat the drums of impeachment, beat the drums of Donald Trump's criminality, beat the drums of all these bad things that Donald Trump is legitimately doing to do. Well, I didn't want to hear myself say most importantly, but here is the deal. We have to get with the program, and here's the program. Today is the day the report was released. Granted, there's a lot of work to be done. There's still a lot of work to be done. And what's going to help Americans right now has very little to do with the Mueller report. And what I'm going to do is tell you what do we do going forward, in my humble opinion, because I don't want us to get distracted from what is going on here. So what is the title of the show today? The title of the show today is The Mueller Report is Out. The Mueller Report is out. Politicos, like we, those of us who just love politics, we are excited. We're excited. The Mueller report is out. And guess what? Even though it came with a preamble from the Attorney General, we all know that the Attorney General was talking crap. The Mueller report is out, and it is bad news for Donald Trump. Or is it? Or is it? Donald Trump is probably between 40 and 45%, and he will remain between 40 and 45% no matter what. And the thing about it is Donald Trump can win an election with a 40 to 45% rating because of the Electoral College. Let's not forget that. And there is an interest to keep Donald Trump in office, and let's not forget that. The only way to get Donald Trump out of office, it's not about talking impeachment. It's not about talking, let's go ahead and see all the bad things that Donald Trump has done. That is not the way we're going to. I mean, it's going to be nice for all of us politicos to impeach. It would be great to impeach this guy. I don't want to impeach this guy. I want Donald Trump to become the signature stamp of what the Republican Party has become. The signature stamp of what the Republican Party is going to become. And then I want to give all those nice, good Republicans out there a choice. Do you want the party of Donald Trump, a party of evil, a party of corruption, a party of no laws, or do you want a party that really cares about people? Dude, is that what you want? So we want to have a contrast. And we can say, oh, let's impeach. It'll feel good. You know, sometimes, some people like revenge, right? I used to like revenge too. I mean, everybody likes revenge, right? But the problem is, after you've gotten your revenge, okay, boom, you got what you wanted. What's left? What is left after that is the question. And that is what we have to be careful of. That is what we have to be cognizant of. And that is what we are going to talk about today. And I hope you're with me. And I would love to have people call in and tell me, oh, you're wrong. We want impeachment. We want to get him out of there. I would love people to call me. Remember, so that number is 646-716-5812. Again, that number is 646-716-5812. I would love to hear from you. Give me a call. Tell me what you think. Because, as I've always said, this is your show. Anyway, title of the show today is The Mueller Report is out. Politicos are excited. Most Americans, a yawn. And that is the truth. You check out people. You go ahead and on the street and go to a McDonald's or a Burger King or wherever you want to go. And there's one thing you're going to realize. Nobody cares but those of us that are politicos. But I tell you, there's a big group that aren't really politicos that care. And that is the Trump's posse. They care. That is their man. There is a percentage of Trump's people that see him as the bastion of supremacy, and we're ginning them up. And not only do we gin them up, we gin up their fringes, we gin up their sides, we gin these folks up. So, the title of the show, The Mueller Report is out. Politicos are excited. Most Americans yawn. And subtitle of the show, for those of us who are very politically involved, the Mueller Report is a big deal. Today, I've already went ahead and I posted the actual Mueller Report. I went ahead this morning. As soon as it came out, I brought it and I started to try to search it, realized that it couldn't be searched. So I ran it through an OCR. I got it OCR'd. I uploaded it to the internet. And I went ahead and created a blog post and said, hey guys, for you guys who want to search in detail within the report, I've OCR'd the report. Go to my link and you can actually download that from my website. I went ahead and I threw it up on Daily Kos and said, hey guys, I know there isn't a searchable 448-page report. Here it is. I went ahead and did that. I noticed a whole lot of other folks have recently done that as well, including, I think it was, I saw The Atlantic or one of them that did it as well. I don't know if they just copied my document or what, but I think I was the first one to have the OCR'd version out there on the internet. Anyhow, so let's remember, to most Americans, it is not a big deal. As such, we must keep our eyes on the ball. A lot of my friends on the left are going to be mad at me. I'm a lefty to my brothers, but you know what? For me, it's not about being a lefty. For me, it's more than being a lefty. I'm coming to you 973 in a minute. For me, it's more than being a lefty. The amount of energy we expend on Donald Trump and his corrupt cabal is better spent talking to Americans. Yes, we can chew gum and walk at the same time. Absolutely so. But the media cannot. The media does not want to. The media think this is sensationalism, and they think because they have a sect group. Each of these cable channels have a select group, few million people that do not represent the entire country. But those are the people who pay the bills for those particular media outlets, and they're the ones that they want to convince. But there is a concerted effort, trust me, not to really get rid of Donald Trump. And even those guys that are preaching all these things about Donald Trump, trust me, Donald Trump will be right there. We'll expend a lot of energy. If we attempt some sort of an impeachment, if we go ahead and we fail at that, it's going to be a depression for a whole lot of people, and they're going to throw their hands up in the air and say, why the hell? Nothing changes. The powerful remain. The powerful stay there. So here is what I am suggesting. And before I go to what I'm suggesting, because this is your show, let me bring in caller on 973. Come on in.
Hey, what's up, Egberto? This is Johnny.
Who am I speaking to?
Hello?
Yes, I can hear you.
This is Johnny.
Johnny, how you doing?
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can, Johnny. How you doing?
I'm doing pretty well. And I have to agree with you to a certain extent that, this is...
Johnny, let me ask you something. Johnny, let me stop here a second.
Purpose.
Johnny, where are you calling from? Because there's a lot of background noise. Do you have can you call back on a cleaner channel?
Is that better? Is it better?
Wait, I'm not
Can you
sure.
hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you. It's just that it's coming over with a lot of background noise, and I don't know if that's... I think that... I tell you what, do me a favor. Call right back, and I'll come right back to you. Yeah, do that.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
Thank you, Johnny. Okay, as soon as Johnny calls back, we'll bring Johnny in. But like I'm saying, it is important for us not to just sit back and think it's going to be, the Russia gate, and that's going to bring it home. And because Donald Trump is going to be so tainted. Folks, I want you to remember, how soon to the election we heard Donald Trump talking about grabbing a woman by her you-know-what. If that didn't do it, that is so personal to people. All right, let me get back to Johnny. All right, Johnny, come on in. Johnny?
Hey, what's up, Egberto?
Oh, that is such a much better channel. Come on in, my friend. Talk to me.
Excellent. No, listen, I understand your frustration, and to a part of me says there's a lot of fatigue with Trump, and that's what the plan has been all along.
Yes.
To get everyone tired and used to having these things outside the norm. But here's the problem: we are a country of laws.
Yes.
And unfortunately, even if we cannot impeach him, or as far as winning the impeachment, you have to go through the process. And the reason why we have to go through the process is, unfortunately, this is all about the next president, and the president after that, and the president after that. Because remember, the whole thing with Trump is he's a chaos agent, and the more chaos he can sow, the better it is for him. But in the end, he doesn't really care anyway, because his whole thing was to enrich himself using the presidency. And to that I say, job well done, because he's definitely enriched himself. But like I said, moving forward, despite the fatigue that everyone's feeling, from the voters to the people down the street to everywhere, we gotta get past that, because the people who we put in office, like Jerry Nadler, they have a job to do, and it's their job to hold him accountable to the letter of the law. And I hate to bring Barack Obama into this, but if Barack Obama was facing the same thing Trump was facing, it would have been over already. He would have stepped down today.
Look, you are absolutely right, and you've heard me say that a lot. Barack Obama could not have even gotten away likely with having been divorced twice, okay? So, Barack Obama could not have gotten away with having children with 3 different women that we know of, but it's more than likely 5 women that he has children with. So, we would not have, we would have been talking about baby mama and all that kind of stuff as references if we were talking about Obama. That is granted, that is understood. In fact, I've spoken a whole lot about, I don't even think the country was ready for Obama, when a black man as president when Obama got elected. It's just that Obama was such a great politician that he was able to supersede everything.
Yes, he was.
He was not seen. Yeah, go ahead.
Egberto, I don't know if you're paying attention, but of course you are. I know you're paying attention, but this Mayor Pete guy.
Oh my God!
I'm gonna tell you something right now.
Oh my God!
I'm gonna tell you something right now. That guy right there Look, I know I'm a progressive. I'm a liberal.
Yes.
There's one issue that keeps me from saying this guy is going to win. And you know what that issue is. I don't want to say it on the air because I look like some type of...
No, I want you to say...
some kind of caveman.
No. I want you to say it on... We're a channel that we respect
Mayor
people's
Pete,
voice.
I'm just not ready to have a gay man in the White House.
Okay, and explain.
I don't want to see them making out.
Explain.
I don't want to see them dancing at the presidential ball. I'm sorry. I said it. There,
okay.
I said it.
And that's fine. And let me ask you... before... Folks... I want to address Johnny here, and I'm going to take us a little bit off subject because this is a human thing. Explain yourself to me, Johnny, if you will.
Listen, I respect Mayor Pete so much. Everything he's saying is correct. He is on point. But my problem is that for some reason, the way I was raised, I'm gonna go back. I'm gonna blame my parents for raising me in a Christian, Judeo-Christian household. I'm going to blame my upbringing, my football coaches, my teachers. I'm going to blame everybody but myself. But at the end of the day, I'm just not ready to move America into a place where, I don't know, where that foundation... I'm
glad
worried about reparations.
You have to say that.
I'm struggling with Mayor Pete because Mayor Pete is so good. He's so good, and he has a handle on all the issues, and he checks all my boxes. Look, the guy went to Harvard.
Yes.
He went to Oxford. He joins the Navy.
Yes.
After going door to door for Barack Obama because he was intrigued by how everybody he met on in the road was going into the service.
Right.
So he joined out of a sense of like, yeah, I need to do this. I admire people like that. And I admire him. I'm just not ready to turn on the presidential ball or, when you're celebrating when the president wins and see him dancing with his husband.
And I want you to, and the reason I want to hold you and I ask you.
And I'm sorry for that.
No. Hold on a second. First of all, I respect you. And I honor you for coming on a show and making that statement. Because I think the only way we get past these types of issues is that if we brought them out in the open. The same way when people have, I always tell people that some of my best friends are racist, right? Because we can talk these things through. We can talk these things through. And after we talk it through, a lot of them turn out to be, they're no longer intellectual racists, but just carnal racists, meaning they have that that part of their muscles that still react, but when they allow themselves to be intellectual, they're no longer, and eventually the intellectual becomes the carnal. To you now, I'd like to talk to you.
Yes.
And what I'm saying, remember, replace everything that you had to say about Mayor Pete, replace that with, what's your race?
I'm an Afro. I'm an ADOS, American descendant of the slaves.
Okay, let me stop you there. So then what
that's what I am.
Good.
And it's funny. I've got a new moniker now. I've just accepted that.
Okay, and that's fine.
And given what my people have brought to this country, but here's the thing. To be fair, James Baldwin was a gay black man who struggled with both of these issues at a very important time in America. So from the standpoint of admiring a guy like James Baldwin, why can't I vote for Mayor Pete?
And you can. And what I'm trying to tell
Why can't I get to vote for him? And you know what? When I look down and I say, who's the guy that best represents the America as it's moving forward, as America's moving into the future? Who's the guy that best represents American values? That guy.
Right. And let me tell you something about what I want to talk to you about now. And sorry, folks, we're still talking Mueller Report, but I want to use this as a learning experience for both of us and the public at large while I'm talking to Johnny here. And here's the deal, Johnny. I don't know if you've heard my story about I'm from Panama. I'm a black man from Panama, Latin American guy. So I have all, and I'm coming to the next call as well. I have all the issues. I'm Latino, I am black, and I'm Caribbean. And there's one thing that shares. There's a very strong homophobic trait in those three categories. Okay. Now, I overcame that on a business trip to China. When it was made aware, Egberto, could you change your color? Could you change who you are? And when I sat down, and it was a little bit deeper than that my friend who I was traveling with said, but that changed it for me on an intellectual level. It was still carnal. If I saw two guys kissing, if I saw two guys, it's funny because it never happened with two women. I found two women doing things kind of wow. But for two men, it was always, for two men, it was always, now I can hug. I can hug a gay person like nothing, and I can see gay folks doing their thing like heteros do their thing, and I have passed the intellectual to the carnal where I am now there. And what I'm saying is, you, brother, needs to work on we need to work on that, because one thing, everything that you said you're not ready for right now, absolutely everything that you said you're not ready for. We could put white people saying, we are not ready for you, Johnny, as an intelligent black man to do
true.
X, Y, and Z, because I'm not yet ready to see somebody of your hue doing that. And when you are able to personalize these issues, it's then very easy to say, okay, I'm going to act first and train my carnality second. In other words, I am going to act the part. I am going to play the part. I am going to, if you like Mayor Pete, the reason I won't vote for Mayor Pete in the first round is because he's not progressive enough for me. Okay, that's the only reason. But I love the guy's engagement. I love the guy from the way he handles Christianity, the way he says, if you have a problem with my gayness, you go ahead and you check my Savior, or you check my Master, my God. When he says that, that says it all. In other words, look, I tried because of what you guys told me how wrong it was. I tried. But brother, a woman does nothing for me. It is a man for him. I'm talking Brother Pete now. I'm a hetero.
He's got to live his truth.
Exactly.
I agree with you. He has to live his truth. But the problem is that I always see the presidency. You know what? There's no excuses. I need.
There are no excuses. It's on you.
And the thing is, as we move forward, look, I'm probably going to end up having to vote for him anyway.
But wait, Johnny.
I really like how he handles his business.
Johnny, remove that word. Remember, I tell you, it starts by removing the intellectual, and then the carnality follows. In other words, don't say I'm going to have to. You don't have to. You're going to do it because if that guy fulfills your needs, that's who you vote for. If he is the one who has all these things that you want, forget about you don't want to see two guys dancing on the floor. You have to say, this is what's best for the country, and I'm not going to judge him on the personal issues. And that you don't want to see that on the floor, that is your issue, right? And you can close your eyes.
True.
You can close your eyes.
That's true.
You know. So I mean, I had to go, brother. I had to go through that. And when it was liberating, it was completely liberating for me. When I got rid of my prejudices of all types, and as I knocked down one prejudice after another prejudice after another prejudice, it continues to be liberating. So now I don't know what prejudice I still have, but whenever I feel one, I go ahead and I handle it head on. But right now, I think I am fairly prejudice free. I'll find out when different things happen. You know what I mean? Well, when other things happen, I'll find out.
I applaud you.
I am but it's a learning.
I hope that I can get to where you're at.
It's not hope,
but
brother.
I'm going to get there. I'm going to get there.
It's not
I'm
hope.
committed.
It's not hope. You do it. It's not hope. You play the part, and then once you play you see, if you talk about, and that's a problem I had with President Obama. I am not into hope. I'm into doing. Okay? I am not hoping for anything. I am, and that's the reason I went on faith and did Politics Done Right and gave up my software company and all of that. I didn't say, well, I think I may make it. I said I was going to make it happen because we have something to offer to the American body politic, and that's why. So all I'm saying is the same for you, brother. Same for you. Same for you. But I got another call. I'm going to put you on hold and get the other call, so you'll still be on. Let's see.
Have a great day.
You too, sir. Okay, let's go to 781, I think it is. Come on. Oops. Let's see. Oh, that's the other one that dropped. Come on in, 781.
Hi, Egberto. It's Kathleen.
Kathleen, how are you doing?
I'm good. How about yourself?
I am doing great. I'm doing great. Talk to me, my dear friend.
Good. Well, I just wanted to actually compliment your previous caller.
Mm-hmm.
I admire his honesty.
Mm-hmm.
I admire his courage in admitting that he has an internal conflict. And I just wanted to tell him about my experience. I was raised by a father who pretty much hated everybody that wasn't a white, middle-class working guy with 2.5 kids and a wife and a golden retriever.
Yes.
His favorite recipients of hate, he would never confront people directly, but he would badmouth people, and were blacks and women.
Mm-hmm.
So I grew up feeling that I was bad because I was a woman, because he said derogatory things all the time about women. And I also was a racist. I didn't like people of other religions. You know, I learned what my father taught me.
Mm-hmm.
And when I was 16, I had an English teacher in high school that assigned us the book Nigger by Dick Gregory.
Mm-hmm.
And I was really put off by the title. I was shocked. I couldn't believe I was reading that in black and white, and it's a very small paperback book, but it was one of the books I've read in my life that has had the biggest impact on who I was and who I am.
Mm-hmm.
It allowed me to see the world through a young black boy's eyes. And it was ugly. And I realized that my father was one of the perpetrators of what this young black boy was talking about. And at 16 years old, that's a huge lesson to learn, and to be able to look at yourself and say, I'm not going to be like that. I'm not going to be like that. And so my advice to your previous caller, I missed his name.
Johnny.
Okay, is that I will gladly reach out to some of my friends and get some recommendations of autobiographies that have been written, you know, probably recently would be good, but
right.
Maybe it doesn't matter, but that are written by a gay man. And to be able to see the world through that person's eyes may help you. I don't know. But that would be my best suggestion.
I actually think that is always helpful. I also think talking is very helpful. I was just happy that Johnny said what Johnny said, because I think, like I said, you know, we have to give space to people to change. In other words, what happens a lot, and this happens with white people, this happens with all kind of people, right, is a lot. It is so much. Look, in a majority white country, right, it is always easier for white people to just go ahead and shut up and not get involved or whatever, and then the problem remains. I like to have my idea, and why I think I do well with people of all races is I think we should give all ourselves the ability to screw up, the ability to make mistakes, the ability to learn. And if we can allow ourselves that latitude, and if others can allow us that latitude, then we can actually have a conversation that, first of all, shows how silly, how ridiculous racism and all these other isms are. And it's amazing when that bell rings. Like when I was no longer a homophobic person, when that bell rang, there are two things that happened. The first thing that happened is like, my God, how could I have been so stupid? And the second bell that rings is, man, I feel so light. I feel so liberated. I can love everybody, man. You know, I can, and that's how I am now, right? I can go into a room, and it doesn't matter who the hell is in that room. I am comfortable because it's like, I am, you know, I'm cool, you know. And the other thing that brings, in my opinion, Kathleen, is also self-worth, right? A lot of times people are racist, homophobic, and all these other phobias because they within themselves have some self-hate. So by hating someone else, it somehow lifts you up because, well, there's one less hate. I mean, you know, there's somebody either being hated as well or not hated as much as you are. So, I mean, there are all these different calculations that happens sort of subliminally in one's brain. And I've noticed that from myself and in the amount of people that I've spoken to. So anyhow, anything else you want to add before we kind of get into a little bit more of Mueller? I mean, I love this. I mean, remember I always say this is you all's show, and if you change the direction of the show, it changes.
No, please continue on your path.
Okay, but anything else you want to add before I go with Mueller?
No.
Great. Thank you very much, as usual, for calling in and listening, Kathleen. Great to have you. Anyhow, folks,
Thank you, Egberto.
Thank you very much. Look, we got into a space that I think wherever that happens, we should address it on the money. That I think is important. You don't sit down and wait. Somebody tells you about their feelings and you just wait ahead and say, oh, well, we have a show that we must do. No, that's not how we operate here. This is your show. This will always be your show. And before I go to the blog of the week, you know what I got to do? I got to ask you guys to remember to please go ahead and support Politics Done Right. I need your support. Go to patreon.com/Politics Done Right. For those of you who subscribe, and by the way, subscribing to Politics Done Right is very, very, it's like saying, Egberto, I kind of like what you're doing here. I kind of like what you're doing for the body politic. Go ahead, I'll get you a coffee or something like that. That's the kind of subscriptions that we have here. We are not Netflix and all these other guys, right? So please go to Patreon, patreon.com/Politics Done Right. And as a token of appreciation, any book that I write, and right now we have As I See It, Class Warfare, The Only Resort to Right-Wing Doom. That one is online right now, so you can actually go, if you go ahead and subscribe, you can read that book online. And of course, I am writing the book, How to Make America Utopia. And that book, that third chapter has taken me a long time because it's just so many things that keep getting thrown that we have to get done and put in front. But the third chapter is coming out. How to Make America Utopia. As I write the chapters, I put it online. And by the way, anybody who has anything to say, if they write me an email or say, hey, this should be in the book or whatever, and if I put it in the book, you'll be cited in the book. And of course, as you guys know, I've had over the past several years a weight problem, and I found a way now. I've been successful in taking the weight off and keeping it off. I have a book that I wrote called Lose Weight and Be Fit now that you can get as a subscriber as well. So please go ahead, subscribe, and all of, you have access to absolutely everything that I write. This year, I'm hoping to get to 3 books. I have 2 of them started already, plus the one that I'm doing, How to Make America Utopia. But we are now going to get back to the program and me stop asking you to subscribe. So here we go. The blog of the week, and you know how I get that little music thing started. I go like this. What time is it?
It's time for the weekly blog post.
Okay, the title of the blog of the week is Here is Why We Must Forget Impeachment and Move On Even as Mueller Report is Terrible News for Trump. And with deference to Johnny, who called and said we have to respect the rule of law, I agree 100% with Johnny that we have to respect the rule of law. And what I'd like to say, let me say it before I read the document, and that is, I think, yes, we can chew gum and walk at the same time, but I think what I'm talking about mostly, I guess, and I'd like to put it in this form, we want to put the emphasis not on a Trump impeachment, not on just showing Trump how bad Trump is, but we want to show a preponderance of our efforts towards Americans, the middle class, the poor. So here's the deal. The Justice Department released the Mueller Report. Of course, they released a non-searchable form. As soon as I got it, I OCR'd it into a searchable document. I have not had the time to read the report yet, but listened intently to different cable news outlets read outtakes from their report or from the report. The Mueller Report is terrible news for Donald Trump. It illustrates perfectly that Donald Trump was not draining a shallow swamp left by past presidents. He was filling the swamp with a high volume of sewage and toxic waste. I mean, it is preposterous to assume that what Donald Trump has done thus far is drain the swamp when all the people that he has brought in to serve for him has been lobbyists or people of poor character, people under investigation, and we can go on and on and on. So there's no swamp draining here. This was filling the swamp up with sewage and toxic waste. Now, the window to a presidency is the press secretary. And this outtake from the Mueller Report is probative. I said I didn't read the Mueller Report. I didn't read it in general, but when I saw on TV that they caught Sarah Sanders in a lie, I had to read that section. So I want to read that section for you, and it said the following. In the afternoon of May 10th, 2017, Deputy Press Secretary Sarah Sanders spoke to the president about his decision to fire Comey and then spoke to reporters. In a televised press conference, Sanders told reporters that the president of the Department of Justice and bipartisan members of Congress had lost confidence in Comey, and most importantly, the rank and file of the FBI had lost confidence in their director. Accordingly, the president accepted the recommendation of his Deputy Attorney General to remove James Comey from his position. In response to questions from reporters, Sanders said that Rosenstein decided on his own, in quotes, to review Comey's performance, and that Rosenstein decided, again, on his own to come to the president on Monday, May 8th, to express his concerns about Comey. When a reporter indicated that the vast majority of FBI agents supported Comey, Sanders said, "Look, we've heard from countless members of the FBI that say very different things." Following the press conference, Sanders spoke to the president, who told her she did a good job and did not point out any inaccuracies in her comments. Sanders told this office, meaning the council, that her reference to hearing from countless members of the FBI was a slip of the tongue. She also recalled that her statement in a separate press interview that rank and file FBI agents had lost confidence in Comey was a comment she made in the heat of the moment that was not founded on anything. And what I want you guys to do is check it out here, because, you know, it is, one thing is to read about what she is saying. The next thing is to watch how effortless, and this is so important, people. Remember, the press secretary is the window into the administration. She is the window into the administration. If what comes out our lies, and what I'm telling, well, I'll say this a little bit later, but check out how cleanly she does it.
On Capitol Hill today, the acting director of the FBI, Andrew McCabe, directly contradicted that. What led you in the White House to believe that he had lost the confidence in the rank and file of the FBI when the acting director says it's exactly the opposite?
Well, I can speak to my own personal experience. I've heard from countless members of the FBI that are grateful and thankful for the president's decision. And I think that, we may have to agree to disagree. I'm sure that there are some people that are disappointed, but I've certainly heard from a large number of individuals, and that's just myself. And I don't even know that many people in the FBI.
You said now today, and I think you said again yesterday, that you personally have talked to countless FBI officials, employees, since this happened.
Correct.
I mean, really? Like,
really?
So are we talking
between like email, text messages? Absolutely,
50,
yes.
60, 70?
Look, we're not going to get into a numbers game. I have heard from a large number of individuals that work at the FBI that said that they're very happy with the president's decision.
Now that is your press secretary telling the truth as she saw it, which she later admit she lied. She lied to the people when Comey was released, when Comey was let go, etc., etc., etc. So there we have it. Now, I need to finish the last paragraph of the blog. It's not complete. I have to add some more to it, but I'll talk about what I'll add later. The report is filled with an amalgamation of lies. That is a Mueller report. It's filled with an amalgamation of lies, bad deeds, skirting the law, and much worse. But here is the thing. Most Americans have pretty much accepted that we have a corrupt president. Worse, they think the corruption is systemic. Americans think corruption's all over. The only reason Donald Trump can continue with the ratings that he has is that Americans think otherwise. They think that, well, so it's Donald Trump, our guy, that's bad. But Hillary was bad in their eyes. Bush was bad in others' eyes. Clinton was bad in other eyes. 6 of one, half dozen of the other. That's how they think. And that's the only reason that this can continue like that. So, I mean, they think the corruption is systemic. As such, do not expect Americans to change their opinions or their vote because we have a mafia boss as president. If that mafia boss gives them the semblance of prosperity, or at least not failing or falling over the cliff, then they adapt. They will adapt. Americans will adapt to, and look, people are people, right? That's what my wife used to say. People are people. I used to laugh when she said people are people because it was like, no, there's all kinds of different people. But in reality, on some level, people are people and they react the same way. And just like in the parts of the world where I'm from, Central America, a lot of the Latin American countries, a lot of the Caribbean countries, they have learned that, in their opinion, the government class, the people who go into government, has a certain level of corruption that's a lot of times anathema to them. But they accept it as that is how government works for those people who want to join into government. And as long as they're reasonably happy, as long as the economy is reasonably okay, they generally don't change unless one gives them something to aspire for. You've heard me tell Johnny earlier on that I thought President Obama, as a black man, became a president in a time where, or rather, before America was really ready for that sort of acceptance. But there were other things, other factors, right? An economy that was in free fall, that nobody understood. Nobody understood derivatives. Nobody understood default credit, default swaps. Nobody understood the severity of all these financial instruments that froze up the economy, that was causing 300,000 people, 400,000 people, 500,000 people per month to lose jobs. I mean, we were going down. And then you had a technocrat in John McCain, who has always been a part of the problem. John McCain, God rest his soul, who was a part of the Keenan Five, I believe. It was some sort of a banking scandal. So it's not like his hands were clean. Americans, that was all the undercurrent. I mean, these are the same people. Here comes Obama, a fresh guy who really looks like, oh man, things are falling apart, and we will vote for this guy. I tell you something. In fact, I was during that campaign. I started out as a Hillary Clinton supporter. I never thought Barack Obama stood a chance until after South Carolina, and Clinton's husband opened his mouth and said something silly. It was a perfect segue for me to move on to Obama, which I did. And I remember going into homes here in Kingwood, in the center of the Republican part of Harris County. And I was in the homes of a whole lot of Republicans in Kingwood. And we were, all these folks, Obama had saturated San Marcos, the Texas State University, and the University of Texas, my alma mater, with books and books and books about his life and what he was going to do. And he would go on campus and he'll electrify these kids. And these kids would come home to mom and dad and say, oh, mom, this guy is great. And mom and dad, they were seeing, even everywhere, they were seeing this country on a collapse. And there they saw their kids with hope, and they were hopeful, and they started to change. And I remember going into these homes and getting scared. And the reason why I was scared Wasn't that these were damn good people, right? I mean, most people are good people. But I would go in there, and these people would be like indoctrinated by loving Obama, indoctrinated by gonna vote for this guy, indoctrinated by they and their kids on the same wavelength doing that kind of thing. That's the kind of thing that we had going on then. And I remember saying, wow, when this stuff ends, it's not going to end well. It is not going to end well. Because, you see, I understand how the system works. And I understand that there was going to be a hell of a pushback because it doesn't take a majority to change people. It didn't take a majority to change the bad acts that occurred in Europe. It didn't take a majority. I think there's a rule of thumb, I don't remember, a small percentage can make some big changes. And I knew that was coming. And the culmination of that is Donald Trump. And you're not going to turn that around by impeaching the culmination of what he represents. He represents everything that a sect in this country who had never had it believes he's there to give it to them or to keep it for them. You know, I've never seen a people fight so hard for something they never had. And that is one of the messages that I put out there all the time. When a lot of these people, a lot of these supremacists and these others go out there and they're fighting for all these things that other people, the other is taken from them or the other will take from them. And the way I normally get to them a whole lot of times sometimes is to remind them they are fighting for something that was never offered to them. They're fighting for something that they never had. And they're fighting for something that unless we unite together, the barrios, the ghettos, and Appalachia, unless we unite together, it's something that they'll never give us because it is something we must take. So putting that in the context of the Mueller Report, putting that in context of the Trump corruption, putting that in context of the entire Trump administration, that while we concentrate on his bad deeds, while we concentrate on his collusion with Russia, while we concentrate on his obstruction of justice, the people that work for him are destroying the environment. The people that work for him are destroying foreign relations. The people that work for him are destroying everything that slowly we have worked towards, and most importantly, national harmony. Most importantly, national harmony. And that is what we have to fight for. And as long as we make the major issue we're fighting for to get Trump, to get him impeached, to get all of these particular, as long as we're concentrating on that, we're not concentrating on that which brings harmony. So I tell us lefties are this, you know, we don't like Donald Trump. Donald Trump is doing all wrong. That's a definite. But getting him is not going to get us the right. Yesterday I did the show on Bernie Sanders going into the fox den, into the fox hen, foxhole. A lot of people were mad that that any progressive is going to go on Fox News because they're going to spin it. And in the article that I wrote for Daily Kos that will be out on Sunday, remember to read it, dailykos.com, DAILYKOS.com. I wrote that we should go on Fox News. We definitely should go on Fox News. We should try to go on Fox News, however, when we are going to be live. The reason why is they can't just cut away from you. Later on, they can edit you, but by then, the original would have aired, and if they cut incorrectly, you can make that correction, just like how I corrected this video and I just put it out there. All of that can be done, but you can go there. You know what I saw on Bernie Sanders' video, at that Fox, while he was in the foxhole? I saw him. First of all, everybody were clapping about when he started to talk about Medicare for all. People were happy, and a lot of those were Democrats and probably independents, etc. What I saw, however, because you know who the Republicans were, right? The Republicans were the ones that are sitting down, that don't want to be too reactive, but sometimes you could see them, when the camera panned and you saw them sit in, you could see that reaction, like attentive listening. The people that listened the most to Bernie Sanders there, I would bet a finger, were the Republicans, because they are used to hearing about him just being a socialist and he's going to bankrupt the country. And when he started to say things like, you're talking about me bankrupting the country, what about all the monies that Donald Trump did to raise the budget higher than anybody else? And the thing about it, he didn't give it to social services, he didn't give it to people, he gave it to a bunch of 1% rich people. And then he kept everything that Barr brought, everything that he brought on to Bernie, he flipped it in such a manner that the Fox viewer had to sit back and say, oh, God, I believe this. And you had to fight yourself to continue believing what you believe. And yeah, it's not going to change at one time. But what Bernie Sanders did was plant a seed. Mueller Report is out. The Mueller Report is out. We have the documentation that proves how corrupt the Trump administration is. We have that, we set that aside, and we use that as a weapon. When you go on your debates, whoever becomes our nominee, and you go on the debate and you're debating Donald Trump and you use X, you go to the Mueller Report, don't forget, Donald, you did this. You go back to your debate. You now have documentation of the corruption of the president, and you can use it in the context of how that would affect him helping the middle class or not having had helped the middle class, the poor, during his administration. So, I mean, we have to be tactical in the way we use the Mueller Report. Yes, let the congressional committees look into it and let them do their job. And yeah, the media is going to be following it, but we need to have our contingent of candidates. And I'm not only talking about the presidential candidates. It's not only presidential candidates running. It's from the state house, meaning the local, your Texas and Wyoming and New York and California and North Dakota, South Dakota. All these places are having elections. All progressives need to be out there talking about what they are going to do for the middle class. And when you're in North Dakota, you're talking about what you're going to be doing for those farmers, those herders. If you are in Iowa, you're going to be talking about the corn. How are you going to be doing those things for them? Why it makes more sense. You had 2.5 years of Trump now, and all of these farmers are doing worse. The people that have fared the worst under Donald Trump are the people who voted for Donald Trump. This is an opportunity not to allow Donald Trump to change the subject by they're trying to impeach me. Because even though those people are in pain right now, it is like what the dictators use around the world, right? In Iran, well, I don't want to use Iran because it's a different subject. But what they do is they're hurting their people, right? But at the same time, America has their boot on their neck. So what that dictator says is, the reason I can't help you is America has the boot on my neck. That's a good excuse. If America is hurting you, so let's look at Venezuela. You know, you claim that you want what's better for the Venezuelan people, so you clamp down on the Venezuelan economy, and all Maduro has to say is, the reason why the economy is not getting better is because of all the sanctions the United States have on me. The United States are trying to force you to get rid of me so that they will rule and take your oil. It's a plausible argument. And the more you do those things, and look, this has precedence. When America wanted to invade Panama, or rather, America thought that Panamanians were going to overthrow Manuel Antonio Noriega. So they clamped down on the money. People found ways to barter. We bartered this and bartered that. So finally, the United States really, really, really wanted to get rid of Noriega. So they invaded and killed 10,000 Panamanians in the process. What I'm saying here is, don't give the farmer in Iowa, don't give the worker in Ohio, don't give Trump an excuse for why he screwed all those people who voted for him. Because if we lay it down and get ourselves just into the Mueller report, just into the corruption in his administration, trust me, he's going to turn that around and say the reason we cannot get things done for you is because all they want to do is get me. And that's where I'm coming from. So, folks, we're coming close to the end of the show. I need to do one more pitch. I ask you so kindly to please go ahead and subscribe to Politics Done Right. To subscribe, go to patreon.com/politicsdoneright. That is patreon.com/politics done right. It's very inexpensive. All those who subscribe, they get access to my first articles that are posted certain places with quarantines. They also get the book, As I See It, Class Warfare Online, as well as the book that I'm writing, which is How to Make America Utopia. That book it will be online. Well, it's already online as well as I write chapters. And of course, there is the book Lose Weight and Be Fit Now, which is a book that I wrote. Look, I wrote the book to express how I did it, how I lost the weight, how I'm keeping it off for my health. I had a scare, I'll be honest with you. My blood pressure, and this number is going to shock you, went 240 over 140. Yeah, the bottom number was the top number, and the top number was explosive. It's amazing that I wasn't dead, is what the people told me. But anyhow, by losing weight, exercise, and the standard thing that you hear. But what I did is I told the truth about how I did it, how it wasn't easy. Say no to snake oil weight loss is the subtitle of the book. So again, please go ahead and subscribe to Politics Done Right at patreon.com/Politics Done Right. We really need your support. The program cannot survive without your support. We are way behind in subscriptions. I mean, whereas the right wing scare their people and they start dumping money into, and those people rip you off. All we do here is try to sustain a program that we can give you the truth, that we can do positive affirmations, that we can enlighten each other, that we can do what is necessary to move forward. So I ask you so kindly to please go to patreon.com/Politics Done Right. Become a subscriber. If you can't subscribe, or whether you can or cannot subscribe, please encourage others to do it. We need hundreds of subscribers. We're way behind. I would love to get to 100 after this show, but let's see if you can help us out here to get to 100 subscribers. We're not too far away from the first 100. Usually you get to 100 and it starts multiplying after that. People see 100 and they say, okay, I'm going to jump on board. If you just want to give a contribution, you can also just go to politicsdoneright.com, politicsdoneright.com. But we really would love to have you as a subscriber, and we will continue to make it your worth. We're going to be going to Philadelphia this summer for Netroots, and just like last year, I interviewed over 50 people. You'll be the first to see that. So please hang with us. Please stay with us. Please subscribe to us. Patreon.com/Politics Done Right. You cannot go wrong. We promise. But anyhow, folks, we're getting to the end of the show, and you know how I end this baby. I try to be kind and do it right. So, my name is Egberto Willies. This is Politics Done Right, and I am what? Out!
Welcome to Politics Done Right. I am your host, Egberto Willies. This is the progressive program that will take the mystery out of politics. This is the program that will encourage you to make sure government becomes we the people. Whether you are liberal, conservative, or otherwise, you get to air your point of view. Remember, you can also send me a tweet to EGBERTOWILLIES. That is at Egberto Willies. Let us engage. It is politics done right.
1, 2, 3.